Hello and welcome to the Gambling Files podcast, the podcast that has a cat that talks a lot, but also the podcast that likes to order its cake and not eat it. I'm one of your hosts, John Bruford, joined by your other host, Fintan Costello. Fintan, hello.
Hello, John.
How's tricks? You got any cats?
I don't. Today, I'm sitting here. No, you're fine. Sitting here and I'm regretting not becoming an electrician.
Why, have you just had a tradesman in?
I've had an electrician in. Lovely guy. Super professional. Which is why it was worth waiting the fucking 3 months, whatever it took to get a booking. And chatting away to him, he's doing all his stuff, doing all his electric and stuff. Like, no fuss, really great. And then I notice he's wearing a €150,000 watch on his arm. So I asked, can I have a look at your watch? And he's wearing a Patek Philippe Natalis, but it's like day-date, power reserve, sun, moon, stars thing. Like, it's just got like all the complications. And it's easily worth €150,000 watch. And he's like installing my dining room light, and it wasn't a fake. It was I had a good look. It's a gem.
It's probably just his knocking around at work watch. He's probably got something posh for when he's at home.
It literally was. So he whips out, oh, you like watches? Right? So he whips out his phone, goes to the watch gallery, his fucking camera, and starts showing me his watch collection. And I'm like, I want to work for you. What do I need to do? Let's do this. And he's a serious watch collector.
Wow.
Yeah, fair play to him. He's just got life figured out. It's fucking brilliant.
I was just going to say, he didn't have kids.
No, he had a kid. He's got a son. He was chatting about his son and stuff. And
he never sees. That must be it.
The son can't wait for his dad to die so he can inherit this watch. That's the kind of situation of that.
But I took my kids to the cinema at the weekend, and it was like 50 quid. I'm not buying any watches.
Cinemas are so expensive.
Yeah, but it was totally worth it.
What'd you say?
Inside Out 2.
Is it any good?
Phenomenal.
Brilliant. Okay.
Fantastic. And the kids all loved it.
I saw a trailer for Gladiator 2. I'm very excited.
I haven't seen that trailer, and I wouldn't be excited.
No?
Well, no, because I saw Spartacus. I think when you've seen Spartacus, Gladiator's a little bit redundant.
Fair enough.
Gladiator, like it was a spectacle in the cinema, and it was one of those movies. You know, it was like a Rocky sequel.
Why do I even bother talking about movies with you? It's just like
I enjoyed it, but it was such a piece of fluff.
My opinions are just not valid, John.
I'm glad that you're loving Gladiator 2.
The trailer looked great, and I was excited. It was the first time I've been excited about a movie in a long time. Just looked fun.
Make sure you catch Inside Out 2. It is.
I will. I love a good Pixar.
It was a huge. I mean, I was expecting it to be of decent quality. It's a Pixar movie, but it was actually one of their it was one of their very best, I would say.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, and all of the kids loved it, and it's the most still they've ever been in a film.
Ever.
So that was good.
What's your go-to cinema snack? What are you? Only because you don't eat anything in the cinema, do you?
No.
Jerky or something. Sitting there eating a steak. Fucking steak. Whips it out.
No, actually, I'm not a big one for snacks in the cinema at all.
Really?
Yeah, and even like so back in the day.
Is this from your journalism days? So you were too busy writing or whatever?
No. Back in the day. Notes. Like I'd go with a couple of friends and we'd go to Telford, which is like a good sort of 45 minutes to an hour drive. And because you're driving that far to go to the cinema, you go into like the multiplex, you'd go and watch 3 movies. But even watching 3 movies, I wouldn't get any snacks. It's noisy. Wow. Just, I don't know. Maybe it's one of the things I'm a real snob about. Like sequels.
It sounds like it.
I can't say I'm a snob about sequels. I'm just a snob about Gladiator. Gladiator. It was fun. But that's all it was.
That's all 3.
There were three really good
for the
performances
history
in
lesson.
it. 3 really good performances in it, and the shot of the Colosseum from overhead was something else. But as far as movies go, it was
It was a classic hero's tale kind of journey thing. But okay, sorry. Fine. I'll never mention it again.
There were no zombies.
You don't know that.
Maybe there
could have all been a metaphor for zombies.
That's a good call. So, so what are we doing today? We didn't actually plan this out before we started recording. But I'm gonna send you. I know,
it's so unusual for us. It was like, I feel so uncomfortable right now.
So we're recording this the day before my birthday, right? It's a big birthday. It's my 50th birthday. And
it used to be like a life lessons thing where you like dish out like the advice I would give my younger self. Is that what we're gonna do?
Put the beer down. Step away from the ladies. No, so last night.
Sorry.
What?
Just
have you just thought of something
out of your mouth? They aren't delicious.
Fintan.
Sorry.
I need you to check your messages, your WhatsApp messages.
Okay.
The lady that made my cake sent me a picture of the cake last night.
That is a fucking brilliant. Oh my god. Can we share a screen?
Right now, I'm going to use it to publicize the podcast episode.
Oh, okay, fine. So no spoilers.
But how good is that cake?
That is just amazing. She's an artist. She is an artist.
So, I asked the lady to do so. Certainly, when I was a little bit fatter, I looked like a character from a classic British cartoon called Danger Mouse. If you haven't seen Danger Mouse, I urge you to look up certainly the original episodes. They were fantastic. It was kind of like a James Bond / Sherlock Holmes pastiche, in which the hero was a secret agent who was a mouse. And he had a trusty assistant who was a gerbil, I think, who was called Penfold. And I looked like Penfold. And I was editing a consumer magazine in my late 20s, DVD magazine. And instead of, because the publisher was always like, just take a serious photo for your editorial column. And I'm like, no. So instead, I would use a picture of Penfold. And so I'm talking to the cake lady, and I'm messaging with my daughter at the same time. I'm saying to my daughter, what kind of cake should I ask for? And she's like, get a badger. And I've suggested a badger, but then it came to me, let's get a Penfold cake. And the lady was delighted because she was like, I've never been asked to do Penfold before. She gets asked to do a lot of Bluey cakes.
I'm sure she's sick of Bluey at this point. And then before that, it'd been Peppa Pig. And
without question, she said anything that I haven't done before, I'm totally into doing. And Fintan, this is a respectable professional we're talking about here. No, not that kind of professional. Fintan.
Cover me in whipped cream. Let's go.
Don't bother with a spoon. And so she went away and made me a Penfold cake, and
she's a professional.
Absolutely stunning cake. I'm not going to tell you what it cost because it was a bargain.
Was she wearing a Petite Philippe when she took the photo?
No, I'm dead serious. Guess how much that cake cost?
I'm gonna say 100 quid.
Not even half.
Really?
Yep.
Is it like really small or something? Is just the angle of the camera, or like?
No, it should be about 2 kilos of cake.
Really? If she'd have just done like a round flat one, maybe
I'd have been over the moon. But she's made magic instead.
She has. She's an artist. She's an artist. We should publicize her far and wide.
Yeah, I'll see if she's on LinkedIn. We can put a link in there. Oh, she's good though. I happened across her genius when I won a cake at the boys' school fete, and it was the best cake I've ever eaten. And no exaggeration whatsoever, it was an absolutely stunning cake. It was the most perfect sponge, and it was in the shape of a sheep.
Shaun the sheep?
Or
just sheep in general?
I didn't have to shear it. It was, it was like covered in meringue. But I've realised when I wanted my birthday cake, I needed her to make it because of her genius, and she's gone way beyond what I was hoping for.
It is spectacular. I think she should head towards the Great British Bake Off and just win.
That's the thing, though, Fintan. Do they like the populists? I mean, does she count as a populist? I don't know. But I thought what we could... Is that a plane?
It is a fucking plane. It sounds like it's landing in my living room.
Did you get a big discount on your place when you bought it?
So they were very strategic on the viewings. So the days of the viewings were when the wind was blowing the fucking other way and the planes were coming in the other direction, is what I figured out.
Bastards.
So if I ever go to sell, I need to get the wind directions. And
you need to get the same agent is what you need.
It's available for viewings right now.
Yeah, just get the schedule and just go, oh, sorry, viewing's over, but we've only just stepped in there. Yeah, sorry, bye. Just thinking we could just have like a quick look at some of the news this week.
Yeah, let's do it.
Sure.
Yeah. Go for it.
Because we had an episode, but we're sexing up the podcast. And they needed an extra week because that's how much extra sex they're putting into it.
It's going to be oozing sex.
It is.
You have to wring it out.
It's going to be like a cream-filled donut.
A Victoria's sponge.
3 tiers.
Just naming desserts.
So
what happened in the news, John? What happened in the news?
There's been a lot, actually. I mean, so there's been that. What Antti was talking about with the monopoly breakup in Finland and all of that.
Yeah, Jesus Christ! So from what I can see, it's like a first draft, not a first draft proposal, but it's like very early days type stuff. If they go ahead and do that, so sorry for anyone who's not aware. So Finland basically has a state monopoly called Veikkaus, but a load of offshore brands can target Finland. But they're going to go through a process where they will regulate the market and issue licenses. For those that aren't familiar with the Finnish gambling market, the Finns love to gamble, right? So Finland is like mini Vegas in terms of the 7-Eleven in the train station will have 4 slot machines. That kind of thing. The Finns, with their long dark winters, will gamble their brains. John's just got to take the meat out of the oven, and apparently that's not a euphemism. So Finland is going through a process of deregulation or regulation, licensing, whatever you want to call it, and the current legislation, proposed draft legislation, is saying that it looks like affiliates would be banned and bonuses would be banned. And I'm sure it's all very well intentioned, but all that will happen when you do that is you encourage an offshore market to just say, fuck it, we'll just start processing bitcoins and make a lot of money. And then they don't have to pay any tax, get licensed, play by any rules, and just do whatever they want to do. And if you look at Germany as a very good example, there is a thriving offshore crypto market targeting Germany, Sweden, Spain, places like that. and Finland would be the cream of the crop in terms of player values and, you know, sophisticated market. They know what they want. They're sophisticated players, and yep. If your risk tolerance is high, I would definitely be translating your crypto website into Finnish and make all the money. So that was an interesting one. Very interesting. What'll also be really interesting with it, though, is there's a lot of European operators who are very reliant on the Finnish market. So who are legit, you know, they play by the rules, they're licensed in other jurisdictions where they're licensed where they can get licensed, stuff like that. If these rules do come in, it's also going to kill that kind of grey market type thing as well. So it's going to have a really weird knock-on effect. And so I think it'll be surprising which brands are highly reliant on Finland, because a lot of brands just never mentioned Finland or how important it actually is to their business. So it's going to be a really interesting shakeout over the next couple of years.
Yeah,
and thank God I don't have to worry about it. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Same. It's like, not one of my problems. It was the same when I saw that Betway are pulling out of America.
Yeah, I saw that, and you just think how many businesses are running on next to no margin just to be there.
Well, what was interesting with Betway was when they launched in America, they didn't do CPA deals. I don't know what the current situation is, but they insisted on rev share only, which you would assume would be the more sustainable model. So the fact that if that's the case, and the fact they haven't made it work, or they just can't get market share, or it's a strange one, because, you know, Betway's got big pockets and they can sit and wait and play the long game. But maybe it's just not worth the effort. Who knows?
There's also, I mean, it might be partly states aren't coming online fast enough.
Yeah, well, there's no, I think, like,
there's fuck all happening this year.
6 to 12 months, there's nothing happening. Casino has stalled pretty much. So there's going to be, I don't think there's anything on the casino horizon in the US.
No, nothing.
And, you know, it's a big world. There's plenty of other countries. I'd imagine a Betway would be far more excited about Japan, would be my guess.
Yeah, and it sounds like a really daft point to make, but with a name like Betway, you're going to work in multiple languages anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, if I were them, I would be looking south. But that's just me. What do I know? Do you see any here? It does remind me, though, you're speaking about Betway. It's worth mentioning that we have beautiful sponsors in Optimove. Excuse me, sorry. The CRM software specialists for the iGaming industry.
We do.
You should, if you haven't already, book yourself a demo and be as wowed as we were by it. And that was the cat just agreeing in the background there. And our other present platinum sponsor is, of course, Clarion Gaming, who just about, we'll get this episode out before AGB Live. So,
yep.
You know, if you're not going, why aren't you going? Why aren't I going? And, you know, and of course, ICE in Barcelona next year, and lots of exciting things happening for those dudes.
IGB, I think next week is going to be really busy. I had a quick look at my diary, and it's literally Saturday to Saturday of stuff. So it's going to be a big week.
But it's worth mentioning as well, I think, that other sponsorships are available. My forehead for video sponsors. Fintan, have you thought about getting a hair sponsor? Maybe a Tresemme or somebody like that?
I could get a hairband. I could have a branded hairband. Oh, that'd be great swag.
I like that. I was thinking about I was watching the football last night, and Memphis Depay for Netherlands. He's got his Nike 10 headband. Yeah. I mean, you know, it looks really silly on him. So I think you should definitely do that.
I agree. I'll get straight on it after this.
Great. So there are unique sponsorship opportunities. The bottom of the glass that I'm drinking from now, for example.
The T-shirts we're wearing. We could have a little banner along the thingy. And if you want to reach if you want to, I can't shove an ad into something at this point. Yeah, look, but our listeners are wonderful. They're the senior, most important people in the gambling industry.
I think I could do forehead, nose, and chin. Plus T-shirt.
You could do that. Well, you could do the
knuckles.
We've got the space behind us as well, so a cheeky green screen.
I've got a green screen thing here. I mean, I don't use it because I like people to see that I've got kettlebells.
Do you have a green screen?
I do.
Well, at least you put the laundry away this week.
Yeah, what's your point?
I didn't know if you had a green screen, there's so many options. So many options, John.
Yeah, I've got like a drawdown one.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting. But, Finland aside.
Yeah. What else happened in the news this week, John?
No, green screen of what?
We could have a green screen off. I got a green screen. You've got a green screen. And who can come up with the most imaginative background?
Well, I know you'll end up being in the fucking Colosseum.
No.
With your gladiator mates.
My favourite one is it's the Homer Simpson nuclear. Basically, Homer Simpson's desk in the power plant.
Nice.
That's a good one. one.
Yeah.
We did one once where it was like, okay, whoever can come up with the funniest background wins, kind of thing. And one of the lads, he was so funny. He's just this little blonde Finnish lad, but he had that scene where it's like the blonde girl on the couch and there's like 6 dudes standing behind her. And it was fucking hilarious. I never laughed so much in my life because he's just sitting there and it's just got the 6 dudes standing behind him. It was hilarious. You don't know that picture, do you?
No.
I'll send it to you. You'll know it when you say it.
Okay, it's just going to disturb me.
No. This is definitely the pre-photo.
Okay. So I did. There was a news story came out. I think it might come out the weekend. So last week there's a British pub in Vegas that closed.
British.
It was called the Crown and Anchor. I've never been there. I didn't even know it existed. But yeah, it's so this pub closed, and a lot of people were quite sad about it. They have another location, apparently. But it turns out that the pub has cultural significance because Brandon Flowers of the Killers was working there. No, hang on. No, he wasn't working there, but he was there. And he saw his girlfriend there cheating with another dude. Went home and wrote Mr. Brightside for the Killers, which is, it's quite a...
It's a good song. I sent you that picture on WhatsApp.
Yes, you did.
You haven't seen that meme?
I have not seen that meme. No. I'm not going to be sharing that fucker either.
We move in different meme circles.
I don't. Nobody sends me shit like that, which is sad, really, because I like a good meme. So yeah, so that was in Las Vegas Review Journal. And they're the only people that I saw do that story. Everybody copied and pasted the Crown and Anchor story, but I didn't see anybody else do that Mr. Brightside story. So
that's the depth of detail that we expect from the Las Vegas Review Journal.
Yeah, well, now that they've got David Dancis writing for them.
Friend of the podcast.
Friend of the podcast. There's a story on Canadian gaming business which just made me think, what the fuck is this guy on? And if he's listening, what the fuck are you on? So people have been talking about a nationalized plan for sports betting advertising. Now,
okay.
The reason that things like this are a good idea is because with the saturation that follows legal advertising, people think ill of the industry. It's a big part of perception.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the perception of non-gamblers. And let's not forget that non-gamblers, make a lot of the rules.
Mm-hmm.
This chap, I've just got to get the thing up in front of me. The idea of a national betting ad plan is being opposed by the commissioner of the Canadian Football League, a chap called Randy Ambrosie. And he wrote a letter to the standing committee that's reviewing the proposal. And I quote, "The CFL has demonstrated its commitment to the integrity of our sport and to a safe sports wagering environment for those who choose to bet on our games. We strongly believe that the measures we and other sports leagues have put in place support our contention that a national framework, as envisioned by Bill S-269, is not necessary." Now, here's the issue with that. He's got skin in the game.
Sure he does.
Well, if you think about it, the league teams, the league itself, all stand to benefit financially from the greater number of advertisers.
Yeah, for sure.
So him coming out and saying that, it's like, oh, really? Why on earth would you be opposed to that? I mean, operators obviously act individually.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're separate entities from each other. But we all have to act in the common interest of the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to address the extremely negative perceptions of the industry. And actually doing something like a voluntary code of conduct for advertising or embracing a national framework. Do you know what I mean? It's like, these aren't bad things. Because down the line, the pushback that you're seeing in the US, an awful lot of the issues that have created that pushback stem from the saturation of gambling advertising and the perception of the industry that follows that.
Yep.
So, if Canada gets ahead of it and does this, fucking all credit to you, because you might avoid all of the pushback that follows the saturation of advertising.
But the problem with Canada is you've got Ontario, you've got the state lotteries in the other states in Canada, but you've also got this massive grey market. So you've got like 3 tiers of participants. Now you would argue everybody with an Ontario license would be incentivized to abide by national. So, they've got their Ontario website, they've got the rest of Canada website. But there's a bunch of grey market guys who can just crack on and do whatever they need to do as well. So it's actually a really tricky one to implement at a national level.
I think the cat's eating my breakfast. Be right back.
Okay. Keep people amused.
What'd I miss? Anything good?
Just sitting here waiting for you.
Shit, sorry, Fintan.
That's all right. I've marked the points. You can cut it out.
No, I'm not cutting anything out.
Dead silence. It was one of the things I've done a bunch of radio interviews over the last few years, and it's one thing you learn with DJs is because I was always like, oh my god, what if you ask a question I can't answer or whatever. But DJs, particularly American ones, they're so afraid of dead space that even if you like pause for breath kind of thing, or like, oh, give me a second to think about that, they will immediately start talking so that people listening don't think that they've lost the signal and changed the station or something. So it was amazing watching a DJ just keep talking and not leave any dead space. It was really interesting thing to see.
Remind me never to be interviewed on American radio.
But you see it in sport. You see it in the sports over there as well. Like we went to a ice hockey game, and like every break in play, or even a baseball game, like every break in play or anything like that, there was entertainment. So they were terrified. It was like they were afraid of just like stopping for a moment. There was always filling the space, rather than just focus on the. It's a really. I don't know if it's. I suppose with a TikTok generation, you might have to do that now. But yeah, it was really interesting to see.
So anyway,
cool. What else is going on in the news, John?
So the Mirage, it was the first of the sort of mega resorts. It's closing next week. I think it's closing next Thursday. It's closing next week anyway. And there's this quite cool thing happening because according to the way that licensing laws and all that shit works, all the jackpots have to be hit before they close. So people are fucking queuing up. Nobody's playing the table games because, but people are queuing for.
But how do you make a jackpot hit though? Like, how do they force it?
Depends what kind of jackpot it is, doesn't it?
I've no idea. How does that work?
I don't know. I don't know, because there are different kinds of jackpots, but for some reason, the main kind of jackpot's gone clean out of my head. But I mean, if it's a mystery progressive, then it's just going to hit when it hits, and then presumably not reset.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder how they do that. Who could we ask? Somebody knows.
Well, yeah, we've got plenty of people that we could ask, but you know, with a mystery progressive, the trigger could be any combination of things.
Well, like you've got like, okay, so each machine, so a machine can have a jackpot, so it's got its own little thing, and then a bank of machines can have a jackpot, and then you've got like, I don't know, a network jackpot.
Wide area.
Must be other wide area. WAN.
Wide area progressive.
WAP. Not to be confused. Who knew she liked slots so much? Yeah, it'd be interesting how if it's an RNG type scenario, how does that work? I don't know. Clearly don't know enough about jackpots.
Don't know, but if it's in the rules that it's got to be done, then there must be a mechanism to do it.
Which then is like tinfoil hat time of, if they can make it happen. Dun dun dun.
Shit, we've opened a can of worms there.
I'm making a note to find the jackpot expert.
Nobody has yet come forward to tell us who cans worms anyway.
That is also a good point.
So anybody out there that cans their own food, could you tell us, have you ever canned worms?
Jackpot.
But I think it's quite a cute story. But I mean, the Mirage closings, I mean, it's a big fucking deal.
Big deal,
so
right?
the Mirage, let me see if I can remember the history right. It was opened by Steve Wynn, I think, a long fucking time ago. But it was the first of the mega resorts. And everybody's like, this is never going to fucking work. Just because the amount they would have to turn over every day. Everybody's like, but people flocked, and everything that is the modern Las Vegas Strip followed.
Well, it's that's the thing. It set the tone for everything, right? It's create the spectacle and build it.
That's it. The spectacle is the key. And so now you've got these multiple city blocks spanning mega properties. And if I remember correctly, I think Paul Steelman, the renowned casino architect, was on the Wynn staff, I think, and I'm pretty sure he designed it while he was working for Wynn. Now he's obviously a partner at Steelman Architects. But it kicked off a hell of a legacy architecturally as well. I mean, it's hugely influential, and it will be a bit of a loss. But it's one of the funny things, right? So you got the Tropicana shut a bunch of months ago. You've got the Mirage closing, and people are saying, "Oh yeah, there's going to be a knock-on effect. Room rates are going to go up. Room rates are going to go up." Right now, I'm not great with working out percentages and shit like that, right? Las Vegas has something like 160,000 hotel rooms. I don't even think that's the city itself. I think that's just like a little bit of Las Vegas. 160,000 hotel rooms. It's a lot of fucking hotel rooms. You've got maybe twice a year when they're running over 95% capacity, right?
They don't hit capacity at the weekends?
No, it's very rare for capacity to be hit with that quantity of, I don't think that 100% capacity in anything is pretty friggin' rare.
Because I know the Marina Bay Sands in Singapore runs at basically 100%.
It's still 100% is pretty rare.
Okay.
Because also they keep rooms free because they've got loyalty programs, etc., etc., etc.
Okay.
But high occupancy is generally 80 to 90%. 80% middle of the week, 90% weekends. Generally around that figure, right?
Okay.
You're only losing something like 5,000 rooms off the inventory in those two properties. It's a fucking drop in the ocean. And that people are saying, oh, room rates are going to go up because, supply, demand, absolute bullshit. That is people getting ahead of it and saying, we're going to be putting our prices up unlucky and we're going to blame it on this. I fucking hate that. The thing is, like, anybody that's been to Vegas in the last, say you've been twice in 20 years, when you first got there, if you're visiting from Europe, the dollar was fairly weak. The dollar's much stronger now. And so, things cost a little bit more in terms of exchange rate. But actually, the basic cost of Vegas, I mean, it's very, very expensive there now. Very expensive.
Yeah. It is, yeah.
Hotel room rates are highest they've ever been, as far as I'm aware. The cost of food is very, very high. Service costs
it's the room,
very,
it's
high.
the resorts fees.
But nobody's doing free parking. Well, hardly anybody's doing free parking now, etc., etc. You know what I mean? So it's kind of the players being squeezed left and right. And so for analysts to be coming out and saying they're going to be squeezed even more, do you know what? If I were a property owner, I would be using this as a marketing exercise to say, if you're a carded player, if you come in this time, we'll keep our rates as they are. Join the loyalty program. We'll keep our rates as they are. Market to my tiers and say, you're in this tier. We love you. We're going to keep your rates at this rate. If you're uncarded, yeah, you might pay more. But it's a marketing thing waiting to happen.
Yeah, but look, all of these companies will have teams of analysts slicing and dicing the user base and doing exactly that all day long anyway.
But you can do that and make your rivals look shit at the same time.
But they could be. Maybe they're just not talking about it publicly. Like, it could just be because it'll be so like one-to-one communication, or this slice of the market gets this email or phone call or whatever, that you just never hear about it.
Doing it in secret.
Well, you want because if the rumor is stuff's expensive, but then you tell your loyal customers, oh, but you're getting this, they feel special and stuff. But also, like, if demand is so high, then they can push pricing and drop demand a little bit and make more money and less wear and tear and less depreciation, and it actually becomes more profitable. I suppose. I think they're pretty good at this point of finding that. I'd assume they're pretty good at finding that sweet spot of just enough, just a little bit uncomfortable.
Just enough to squeeze. So, do you remember Seth Shaw?
I do remember Seth Shaw.
Yeah, one of his briefcase you want to carry.
I would happily you know what it is? I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was a ex-Navy SEAL type dude. It was the Jocko Willing podcast. An ex-Navy SEAL didn't. He had this crazy career, but one of his jobs post Special Forces was he was Steve Wynn's bodyguard, and he would do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. And so he would live in one of the casinos, and he'd get up like an hour before Steve and go to bed an hour after Steve. So he's doing 5 hours, but he would follow him to like everything. So he was with him all day long. And he learned a whole bunch about like business, and he said, like, I was in the Navy for my 20s, like I didn't go to college, and then he ended up with this like really successful like bars and restaurants and stuff in his home state, and she's done this amazing business since, literally just from spending so much time with Steve and asking him questions and getting some advice and introductions and this kind of stuff. So I was listening to go, yeah, you see, I fucking knew I was right. So I would happily carry that man's briefcase.
Well, Seth is CEO of Fifth Street Gaming. Fifth Street Gaming owns and operates, among lots of other things, they have the Downtown Grand in downtown Las Vegas, just off Fremont Street. Big favorite of mine. I love the place. And it's up for sale.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm just mentioning it in case you've got a few euros down the back of your sofa, Fintan. Contact your electrician.
Yeah, I'll get a syndicate. Maybe he knows a plumber.
Yeah, exactly. That's where the big money is.
Fucking locksmith. Rolling over in a Bentley.
Possibly a taxi driver. Yeah, so it's I really do love Downtown Grand, and it's a really interesting little property, and it's been beautifully put together. And they just, I'm trying to think when, quite recently, opened a new hotel tower in it. So I mean, it's got a shitload of extra rooms. Maybe they were waiting for that to happen before putting it up for sale. I don't know.
Well, I hear room rates are going up, so it could be a good time.
Yeah, it is a good time. Fucking bastards. So in the UK, we've had a new gambling minister named.
Oh yeah, it's what's her face.
But the big news is that the UK's trade body, the Betting and Gaming Council, has just let me see if I can.
Did you get the job?
No, weirdly.
Oh.
That they have welcomed their new government overlords. That's right. Because the rumor was that the entire new government would resign in disgrace if the Betting and Gaming Council didn't welcome them. I love it when people put out these releases like anybody gives a fuck whether you welcome them or not.
But your man, he was ex-Labour or something, right?
Yeah, Michael Doogar, the top man at the Betting and Gaming Council, was a Labour politician, which, let's face it, is why he's got the job, because he has contacts in his address book.
It's not because of his it's not because of his Twitter skills.
Really isn't.
For people who don't get the joke, on Twitter, he famously made fun of a gambling addict, or recovered gambling addict.
He did. I mean, he's part of the reason why it renamed to X, I think.
Don't drink and tweet, people. Don't drink and tweet.
Although we're not suggesting that he was drinking and tweeting.
No. Sorry. No, we're definitely not suggesting that.
So it's good that they've welcomed the new government overlords.
But it always reminds me, with Labour coming in, it always reminds me of we had David Williams on at the beginning of the year from Rank.
Yeah, he says,
great. You've got the government, and then it's not the opposition, it's the government in waiting. And I think that's a really good way of thinking about things.
Although for at least the next 2 terms, I don't think it's the government in waiting in opposition. I think we've just got this government for a couple of terms.
Yeah. They did a really good intro. Did you see the prisons minister? What they've done there?
Work of genius.
So
have you ever seen a more warmly received appointment in government than that?
Never. So for the non-UK listeners, there's a chain of shops that do like shoe repairs, key cutting, those kind of little kind of kiosk kind of things, called Timpson's. Is that it?
Yep, Timpson.
How you pronounce it? And the owner is like a second generation owner, and he's done a huge amount of work, and through charities and through his business, of hiring, I think 20% of his staff are former convicts. I don't know what the right word is.
Yeah.
Convicts. Yeah. So basically they've been in prison, and he'll give them a job, and they've got a whole program to help people. Because particularly when you get out of prison, there's whole issues around even just money for furniture or getting set up somewhere to live, that kind of thing. And so he's got a whole project. And then he's the charity he runs. So he's got the business, but he's also got a charity. And the charity does a bunch of stuff around in prisons, getting people skills so that they can enter the workforce when they leave. And I think this charity single-handedly moved the stats from like 10% of people get jobs to 30% or something crazy. So it's huge impact.
But they're tackling things like literacy and really fundamental stuff.
Yeah, it's the
reoffending rates as literacy, just as literacy goes up, the reoffending rates change completely. And basically, they've put somebody in place who's going to look at treatment and prevention.
Yeah, so he's the new prisons minister, which I think it's great. I think it's really, really smart, and I hope he's given the time and the resources to do what he needs to do. I think it's really important.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I think the last thing we're going to talk about is we're definitely going to disagree on, because I WhatsApped you about this.
Go on.
The SBC summit in Lisbon in September has named keynote speaker as Tony Hawk.
Oh yeah. I was trying to think about all the things, because we've disagreed with quite a lot of stuff. I'm like, which one's he going to bring up? On the podcast, really? We're doing this? I'm not shaving my head, John.
No, not when we got a shampoo sponsor lined up. But
2 bottles into the shower? Not me. I use 15 in one.
I use bleach. No, I just like Hawk. There's no getting around it. He's a good guy. He's a really interesting guy.
He's an amazing guy.
He is, but it's one of those things. Like Tony Hawk is a brand.
Yep. And
the brand evolved from, obviously a phenomenally successful skater. But his phenomenally successful skating was I think he finished competing in like 98 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, a long time.
He had a long career. Don't get me wrong.
Like he's 50s.
He's 56 now, I think.
Yeah, like
so he had
competitive
a long career.
skateboarding's a young man's game.
It really is. But he
56. He's 56.
His fame coincided with the rise of home consoles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where a lot of it comes from. Now, he licensed his name. He didn't make the fucking games.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, is he a success story, or is his licensing department a success story? And don't get me wrong, I know he's done other things in business since, but still, I would have to question how much he's involved in those things. It's like nobody's going to convince me that Michael Jordan is an incredible businessman, but he's probably got some really fucking good lawyers, and Nike are very, very good at business. So does that make Jordan a brilliant businessman? I'm not sure it does.
No, I disagree with that now. Whoa. All right. No.
I knew you'd know about this.
You can't. All right. If Air Jordan, the shoe brand, was an independent company, it would be the second biggest shoe brand or sport apparel brand, whatever you want to call it, in the world.
Right. And would it be that without Nike? Would it have become that without Nike's expertise?
Yeah, because when he did that deal, Nike wasn't a great company.
They were not a small company, though, were they?
They weren't a small company, but like Adidas were as big. There was a couple of others. I think Nike did a very good marketing, and there was a few bits and pieces there. But you can't say Jordan's not a good businessman.
I'm not saying he's not a good businessman.
Because he put a team in place to manage. But he is. He put a team in place to manage his stuff, right?
But then he's got a great team. That doesn't necessarily make him great.
Oh no! No, right? Every great person has a team.
Of course.
Right?
They have a great team.
Yeah, and he is the person who put that team in place and manages that team and replaces parts of that team when they don't meet up to expectations. Or
does he do that though? Does Jordan do that himself?
Does Jordan sack people on his team? I'm sure he has.
And is he the guy who's out there reading the CVs and making the appointments himself? I doubt it. I strongly doubt it. And I would say the same for Tony Hawk. They spent their lives. They spent their working lives until they were 35, 36. I mean, Christ, Jordan could barely move in his last playing season.
You don't have that longevity without running a tight ship and being involved in the
which
details.
Somebody else runs for them.
That's fine, but they're in the details. And they're making sure,
Not necessarily.
I am happy with this. You now go execute that task or whatever it's going to be.
But that's my point. They're not necessarily doing that. That's the perception from outside.
It's your perception.
What is the likelihood of them doing that? Now, I'm just going to look up one little thing here.
But it's like saying, I don't know, the fucking Tim Cook is not a great businessman.
I'm just looking up Jordan's major. He's got a Bachelor of Arts degree in geography.
Yeah, but he was a college basketball player.
Yeah, but he would have had to hit his targets to be doing that theoretically. So with his geography degree, he's bound to be a great businessman. He focused on training and basketball and being a great basketball player. I'm not saying he's not a smart man. Tony Hawk concentrated on skateboarding and being a great skateboarder.
I don't think you get it at all. I really don't think you get it at all. They did that. They also figured out I am a brand.
Or somebody figured that out and approached them with it.
Possibly, but they agreed. Probably. Right?
Yes, I'd like some money.
Right, somebody came knocking with a sponsorship deal, blah, 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 blah. Right? But the terms that they would have negotiated, or they would let their team negotiate. So finding, you think of like a young Tony, like Tony Hawk was like in high school when he was pro, right? Think of the sharks that had been, or same with Michael Jordan, right? College basketball player, poor family. Think of that would come out of the woodwork at a sniff of $50, let alone the potential millions that these guys would make. And they navigated that, picked the right people, managed their brand, didn't mess up, and consistently did it for decades. I think you're completely underestimating and how much they would have had to put into that.
My point isn't that he's not a competent businessman. My point isn't that he hasn't done great and all of that. My point is that it's not the individual that does that. And when you have people, and it's like when you see people who've basically developed and sold a business and they've done really, really well, and they're then held up as an example of being a great business person.
Mm-hmm.
It's that whole idea that individuals do this, and it's the whole idea of people being self-made and all this nonsense. It's just fucking bullshit. Also, what the fuck has Tony Hawk got to do with the gambling industry?
I'm gonna so I think we're gonna have to. I kind of look at.
Don't Tony you dare Hawk say agree to disagree.
No, I'm not gonna. I think I just look at it a completely different way. What I applaud SBC for doing is investing in content. Investing in, rather than just taking the CEO of one of the main sponsors and having them do the keynote, or the CEO of an operator, they're, because I'm absolutely sure Tony Hawk's not cheap. They're actually investing in content and stuff from outside of the industry. And I think Rasmus and the guys at SBC should be massively applauded for this. I think there needs to be far more of it in the industry, where there's, run good events, bring everybody together, do great stuff, but reinvesting back into content, I think, is huge. Really, really important.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I think it's cool. It's brilliant. Maybe I can get a photo, autograph, fun stuff like that. He'll be super, like, he'll have a great speech. It'll be, you'll have the best team possible writing him the best possible speech, right? It'll be captivating.
So it's not his speech. That's what I'm saying.
He'll give them the bullet points and they'll flesh it out, right? So, he's a pro fucking public speaker, right? This is what he does. It'll be brilliant. It'll be super entertaining.
He's a really good guy. There's no getting around that. He's a very charismatic individual.
He's got some amazing charities as well. There's the friend of my wife is involved in one with him, and they teach. Might have been pre-US pulling out, but they were teaching girls in Afghanistan how to skateboard, as a way to build up confidence and.
No, I would totally get behind that.
Do stuff like that and things like that. So there's some really, really great charity work he does. Super.
Interesting.
And running a charity is also, a tough business.
Yeah, I've no doubt he's got a good team doing that for him.
Yeah, that's what happens, man.
So, but then the individual gets the accolades. I think that's the part that bothers me.
But but he's not standing there saying, like, I am an island and I made all of this happen. Like,
maybe that's what his speech is going to be at SBC.
It's no.
I've really pressed a button here. That's quite funny.
I think. No, I think your buttons are pressed and you're being.
Fuck you! You're not the boss of me.
Oh, I fucking know that. Fucking maverick.
I'm a solitary panther. You
are a solitary sex panther. We all.
So it's 70% of the time I work 100% of the time. Speaking of which, I'm gonna go get this episode out on the floor, Fintan.
Good.
So it's been a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you, John. I'll go think of more rebuttals to your bad stuff.
Well, you don't have to. I do totally see what you're saying. I do. I genuinely do. I'm just being a dick. I mean, I'm just being contentious. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Just winding me up. They're great, man.
I didn't waste money on those autobiographies. I say autobiographies. They were definitely ghostwritten.
Well,
they're not biographies. They're approved.
I've watched The Last Dance. As far as I've got. I
didn't watch that.
It was good. It was very
next week, Fintan, next Thursday, the 18th of July, it's Cobra Kai Day.
It is Cobra Kai Day. It's very exciting.
The first part of the final series.
Dun, dun, dun.
And I, for one, am very excited.
Good. All right, my dude.
So, if you're listening, have a great day. If you're not listening, well, it's up to you, isn't it? Yeah. But, I didn't tell you to have a great day. That happened independently of me. No, never mind. Anyway, bye. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Gambling Files podcast, please find us on LinkedIn. Give us a big, juicy, succulent like. That nearly went wrong. You can find us under the name The Gambling Files Podcast. You can find us on Twitter under The Gambling Files. I think the handle is just @GamblingFiles. You can connect to myself, John Bruford, or Fintan Costello, also on LinkedIn. We're also both on Twitter. And you can find all of our previous episodes at www.thegamblingfiles.com. If you enjoyed it, please share, Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your colleagues, and we'll see you next time.